Administration.
Local talk you can trust.
Real news, weekday mornings from 7 till 10. Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760. From the FMT Insurance Studios of Talk Radio 92.3 and AM 760.
This is Real News with Mr. Henry and Nick Crawford.
Join the show now on the Pure Magic Hotline at 865-888-TALK.
I'm not saying I'm not sorry.
9:20 in the morning. Talk Radio 92.3 FM and AM 760. This is Real News. We're broadcasting live from the FMT Insurance Studios. And I'm going to go to our, what I'm calling a secret guest online right now. Didn't do any promotion for this because I wanted to make us a secret guest to let him explain exactly why we're having him on air. David, if we could just start out a very open-ended question here. If you could explain to our audience a little bit who you are and what you represent and why we're having you on here today.
Well, only you can answer why you're having me on. My name's David Rosler. I've been in motion pictures and television in fairly significant creative capacities for about 35 years. And I've got a Christian project for which we're trying to raise completion funding called Orbiter. And you can find out all about that on orbitermovie.com, and you can find out all about my bona fides at davidrosler.com. And so all you lawyers and doctors out there, go there and check it out. There's a lot of money to be made. How's that?
Yeah, sure. And can you talk a little bit more about this movie? I have the movie pulled up right now just to talk about it a little bit. It says the beginning of it says 240 miles above the surface of the Earth, the International Space Station has been sabotaged. Could you go into a little bit about what it is and what the purpose behind the movie is?
Well, the purpose is multifold. It doesn't have one. It has several. One, of course, is there's a warning about taking our enemies a little too lightly. In the trailer, you hear the president saying, a actor playing a president, saying, for too long, too little has been done about those who have threatened to destroy us. And so what happens is, up on the International Space Station, we follow the crew up there, two of which are devout Christians, the rest of whom are agnostic, as they deal with the fact that down on the surface below, nuclear World War III has begun. And that's the setup. What we're trying to do is really reach a wider audience that you normally get in Christian motion pictures. Christian films these days, they tend to have a formula which is fairly predictable. Husband and wife are having a marital problem, and a loved one is dying in the hospital. I mean, you see this formula over and over and over again. It's very successful. I mean, they make $50, $60 million for films that cost $500,000. Absolutely unbelievable payback. But I think we can go further than that. Specifically, we want to reach the young audience. They're not going to sit through that. And I don't blame them, quite frankly. With all due respect, I think it's a fairly legitimate picket line to be drawn in terms of wanting to sit through that. So this film is very technical. It's got very high-end visual effects, which I think we've proven on the website. It's in stereoscopic 3D. People think that's dead. They're wrong. All the big money makers are in stereoscopic 3D, and they're going to be forever, pretty much.
And if I could ask you, sorry, if I could ask you as well too. There's been some idea here too that the Facebook has almost totally censored efforts to get the project and fundraising efforts to across social media platforms. I've actually reading as well that it seems like Twitter has entirely backed out of it. Now, to me, I find that somewhat problematic. Not just the inherent bias behind that, but if you could expound upon that a little bit, what pushback you've seen from them, what our audience can do to help you out with the funding as well, and what elements of you think social media and the potential underlying bias of that has to do with the lack of funding here.
Is that one question?
Oh, no, sorry. Breaking it up. There's 4 or 5 questions in a row, I realize.
If you like run-on sentences, I'll try to answer that as a single question. To say that we've been almost totally censored on Facebook at this point is technically correct, but within 0.1% or something. They shut down. Get this. They shut down my own personal Facebook account on Christmas Eve after I had not been on for 16 hours. This is a true story. Everybody involved with Orbiter and the 600 fans on the fan page can attest to it. And I posted, after 16 hours, I just went on, I posted a graphic, which said, from the cast and crew of Orbiter, we wish you and yours a very Merry Christmas. That's it. They deleted my Facebook account, said I was in violation of terms. It's not even restorable now. It's gone.
What terms specifically did they say you were in violation of?
Of their terms. They never give specifics. My Facebook account had been taken down numerous times. And they would say you're in violation of terms. But what violation? They never cited them. People would complain, and then the site would come back. Yeah, those were suspensions. This isn't suspended anymore. They eliminated it. There's a huge, huge bias against Christians and conservatives on social media. And you and I are not the only ones who know it. The chairman of the FCC recently called out Twitter, Facebook, and Google, which means, of course, YouTube, specifically for that problem. The NRB, National Religious Broadcasters Association, started a new initiative called Internet Watch, specifically because Christians are being muzzled, censored, thrown off social media. It's an epidemic. And it seems like what they're trying to do in Silicon Valley and the really, really, really extremist progressive viewpoints that they carry in Silicon Valley, it seems like what they're trying to do is purge Christians from the Internet.
Now, have you experienced that the same way?
One more example, Marsha Blackburn, and here's something people can do. You can support Marsha Blackburn's bill H.R. 4682, the Open Internet Preservation Act. And that addresses the exact same problem, that conservatives and Christians are being censored. It's terrible. It's terrible what's going on. I mean, you would never, when we were growing up, you never could have imagined that the United States could be like this. You would have thought it was impossible. But here we are. We're seeing it. It's playing out in front of us.
Now, have you experienced that in making the movie as well, not just on social media, but because you are trying to make a movie that has a Christian background in it as well? Has there any? I'm sure there's been some kind of blowback on that.
Well, everything we posted on Facebook came up with 0 shares and 0 likes when all the other posts on the threads would get dozens to hundreds. So the critics of the world don't just stop short and don't say anything. We weren't getting anything. We're still not getting anything. There's nobody interested in how was it done? I like this actor. Let me give you some advice. I love the special effects. I hate the special. Nothing, which is, statistically impossible. A problem is we're beginning to see the same pattern in our donations, and so we're in real trouble. We're in real trouble. I was on, the week before last, I was on 7 radio shows, much like yours, very sympathetic to the film, very positive. During that time, the website got over 6,000 hits coming primarily from people who heard about us on the radio, and we're supposed to believe that not one person gave, not $1. You go on crowdfunding, $500,000 for Save the Liberian Chimpanzees.
Right.
Somebody wants to save a pig. Somebody says, this person's been shamed because of their picture. Let's hold them a dance party, $40,000. The proportionality of what is happening with our donations is mimicking exactly what was happening with our interactions on Facebook. So our tech people, our tech experts said it's almost certain that somebody is redirecting traffic from the crowdfunder and basically stealing the money. And this is a really, really good opportunity for us to go after the bad guys, because when they censor you on Facebook or Twitter, becomes this argument, well, it's their personal company, they can do whatever they want. Now we're talking about criminal activity. That's a little different. So what I would suggest is there are a number of things that people could do to help. One is if they want to give, right now, go there and give odd amounts. $31.20, $11, something like that. And then email us or call the station and say their name and how much they gave. Because all we need to do is get enough to show a pattern of people who said that they donated, they're not showing up, and we've got 6 people of interest. We're going to have law enforcement all over them in about 2 seconds. So if you donate, you can help Orbiter, and if we don't even get the money, you'll help to beat the bad guys.
And that's orbitermovie.com, ORBITER movie.com. And we got about 2 minutes before the break here, and I wanted to ask, in the vein of these sort of faith-based movie genres coming out, it would seem that you look like a Mel Gibson's Passion of the Christ or something. That did extremely well. Now, granted, that's Mel Gibson behind it, possibly. But what specifically, without giving too many spoilers here, about this script or this production or the idea behind this movie was so Christian or faith-based that is causing this type of reaction?
I don't think it's so much the Christian aspect as what we want to do with the Christian aspect. Once we get, unless someone wants to step forward now, please call the radio station, have them get in touch with me. Unless they want to put up some money for the studio now, the proceeds from Orbiter are going to be to set up a motion picture studio right there where you are in Knoxville, because the census says it's the most Christian city in the U.S., and we're going to be doing big production value films, not little dramas. We're going to be reaching out to the youth. I think that the progressives find that particularly alarming, that we're trying to draw back. So when teenagers and kids in their 20s walk out of the theater, they're not only saying, man, that was great, but they're saying, my parents are right. It's okay to say that I'm a Christian. And I think those 2 things, the agenda about the studio and what we're planning to do to try to reach the young people, is what they really object to. And, man, I tell you, they're killing it. So if your people are out there, you doctors, you lawyers, you guys out there, we're self-distributing, and I've already basically got to deal with a very large theater chain which is accepting me as the distributor, which means when you put your money in, the returns are going to be tremendous, because the confiscatory distributor is absolutely out of the picture.
David Rosler.
Yeah. I hate to make such a pitch like that, but you asked and I told you.
Yeah, exactly. And David Rosler, 30 years of experience in the industry, is producer, director, feature storyboard artist, special effects, 3D expert, and much more. Website is, let's see here, orbitermovie.com. Thank you so much for joining us on the show here today, sir.
Hey, well, thank you very much for having me, and a great show, too. I love it.
Thank you, sir.
Okay.
And there he goes, orbitermovie.com. And look, that's a serious problem going on right now as well. And anytime someone gets a sniff of something faith-based.
Well, it's even the culture war on how it seems like forever the right and even the Christian ideas in movie making has been losing for a long time. And it seems like there's this new trend coming back of making those movies and saying, no, I'm proud to be able to watch this movie. And something you can take your kids to and not worried about what they're going to see or hear in the movie.
Yeah, and actually, the whole premise of the movie just sounds fantastic as well, too. It's like in the vein of Gravity, almost, except there's World War III going on from the top-down perspective. On the number of people that he's reached, not a single type of reaction to that. If for nothing else, even if you don't even describe what the movie is, just an aspect to support a Christian ideal to get that out there in Hollywood, at a minimum, some Christians, especially across the Southeast, would be like, I don't even care what the movie's about. Just, we'll give you funding for that, right?
Yeah, especially, again, we were talking about off air here, saying how it seems like Christians for a long time have been for sure losing the culture war when it comes to media, when it comes to movies and songs and whatever else you want to call it. So I always really try to support any kind of movie like this, even if I might not like it. I'm not saying that I wouldn't like this movie, but even if it's maybe not the best movie ever, the point that is trying to bring media back in the right direction is a big step. You see the God's Not Dead movies and all of that vein. You see, like you brought up, the Passion of the Christ movie. There's been a lot of stuff recently, and we've argued this too, on how do you change society again? How do you bring people back to family values, to understanding the individual, and not just laying down and letting people walk all over you? And it's controlling media again. It's going back and what people watch and what they see, making it entertaining in a wholesome, I guess, the left hates that word, but wholesome way to present these ideas is how you bring people back. And so I love that he's targeting young people as well on trying to make them proud of their faith again, because it seems like now when you go out places that there shouldn't be, and people should not feel this way. And if you do, you got to stop this, but feeling ashamed to say, yeah, I'm a Christian. That has to go away.
Oh,
why are you ashamed by that? There's nothing to be ashamed of for saying that. It's just saying like you're ashamed to be an East Tennessean or you're ashamed to be an American. No, you are, and you should be proud of it, and there's nothing wrong with that.
But it makes sense. One of the supposed critiques of the Passion of the Christ against Mel Gibson is that he was trying to exploit this built-in audience of reportedly 78% of Americans polled say that there's some type of evangelical Christian, and the exploitation of that built-in audience of just like guaranteed ticket sales or something like that.
I mean, you can make that argument,
but what I'm saying though too is like even if there's a real component to that, it would make sense to invest in that because it's true, kind of, right? It would make sense to invest in that.
So a lot of bad thing?
I'm not saying it's a bad thing. No,
people are saying it's a bad thing. That you see a market and you take advantage of it. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's not forget, this is not communism. This is a movie that people have to choose to decide to go see and put their money towards. No one's forcing anybody into this. If you are supplying a market with a product that they want, good for you. It doesn't matter what your reasons behind that are.
The point that I'm making, too, is that Mel Gibson's movie was one of the highest-grossing movies of all time.
It was a good movie.
Now, granted, it dealt specifically with the Passion of the Christ, right? I get that. But nevertheless, the return on that type of investment, if you were to have the ability to invest in that, would have been substantial. Now, one of the talking points that David Rosler hit there is, as an inducement, any donations over $200 will be treated as investments with a return. Now, that's substantial reason to go invest, not only just for faith-based reasons, but if this movie kicks off, when it does kick off, when he moves the studio to the Knoxville, Sevierville area, whatever else, now a $200 donation is going to be treated as an investment with a return.
Yeah.
I mean, coupled with the idea of a built-in audience as well, I mean, there's something to consider there.
No, I mean, it could be great. It's not just saying, here's $5 and I hope your movie goes well.
Right.
This is an actual business opportunity for a proven market that wants to go see this. I mean, you look at all the different Christian movies that come out. Most of them are pretty successful, maybe not mainstream, but in the Christian community, because it's one of the largest demographics in America, and they want to be able to see some, this isn't just going to be seen at the movie theater. This is going to be shown at churches. It's going to be shown at homes. People are going to get together and see this. You can watch it with your kids and your family. There's a lot of opportunity here.
Oh, absolutely. And this last point I hit would have hit with this Bannon story. A hard segue right there.
Yeah, good job.
Last point.